Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating, deeply philosophical text called 8 Secrets on Life and Samsara. It outlines a highly structured, totally impartial framework for how reincarnation might actually operate across the universe. It's really interesting because it treats the mystical almost like a hard science, laying out these universal laws for life, death, and, well, the whole shebang in between.
So let's jump right in with a pretty provocative question. Think about human history for a second. If the number of people on Earth dramatically decreases, during a massive historical event or some huge localized disaster, are those lives just dead and gone forever? Or, according to the strict laws of the universe, are they simply relocating somewhere else entirely?
To unpack this framework and answer that exact question, we're going to explore 4 distinct phases today: the cosmic balance of life, the gravity of lower realms, the mechanics of reincarnation, and finally, the necessity of forgetting.
Okay, Phase 1, the cosmic balance of life, and the unchanging total of existence.
Think of life kind of like the water cycle. If you leave a bowl of water out in the hot sun and it evaporates, that water hasn't actually ceased to exist, right? It didn't die. It just transformed into clouds, and eventually it's going to rain down again into the oceans or freeze into an iceberg. The total amount of water never changes, it just shifts its form. Well, the framework argues that the absolute total number of lives in the universe operates in that exact same way. It's a fixed number, not a variable. Lives simply reincarnate across different realms. So a massive population drop in one realm literally just means a population boom in another.
Now, to organize all these shifting lives, the text applies a very strict hierarchy. Think of it as a pyramid of life. The fundamental rule here is pretty simple. The lower a life's level is, the greater its sheer quantity has to be. So insects massively outnumber birds, herbivores outnumber carnivores, animals outnumber humans, and humans vastly outnumber celestial beings. The higher up the pyramid you go, the rarer the life form becomes.
But wait, there is an apparent contradiction to this rule. Currently, according to this framework, there are about 30 billion supercelestial beings in the higher realms, compared to roughly 8 billion humans here on Earth. Doesn't that totally break the pyramid rule? Well, the text clarifies that we actually have to look at this dynamically. Over hundreds of millions of years, the celestial population stays largely static at 30 billion. But in that exact same vast time frame, the total number of human lives that have cycled through Earth is actually in the hundreds of billions or even trillions. So dynamically speaking, higher lives are absolutely, undeniably rarer.
Moving right along to Section 2, the gravity of lower realms and why ascending is just so incredibly difficult. The framework deduces this fascinating societal law from our pyramid. It argues that ignorant or quote-unquote bad people must logically outnumber the righteous. It compares this directly to human society, and honestly, the math kind of checks out. You naturally have far more common workers than business managers, right? You have more managers than city mayors, and way more mayors than national presidents. If it weren't structured this way, with the masses forming a huge, heavy base at the bottom, there would just be total chaos.
And because that base is so incredibly heavy, catering to the values of those masses, appeasing the flesh and focusing purely on mundane things like wealth, well, that practically guarantees a downward trajectory in your next life. Think about it in your own day-to-day. Moving upward requires overcoming some profound inertia. You have to sublimate the soul, accept completely new, out-of-the-box ways of thinking, and actively focus on the exact things that the masses generally ignore.
To really drive this home, the framework uses a fantastic analogy. A leopard cannot change its spots. It points out that a peony flower or a willow tree has remained exactly the same for literally millennia. Material just doesn't change its fundamental nature on its own. Therefore, humans cannot elevate their spiritual realm without deliberate, external guidance from higher beings or by embracing completely new teachings. Basically, if you only ever listen to like-minded people, you are going to stay exactly where you are.
Which brings us to Section 3, the mechanics of reincarnation, and how transitions and past lives actually work in practice.
So the philosophy introduces this concept called the non-material structure. This is your true essence. And here's the strict underlying mechanic. Your next destination is dictated by your specific consciousness at the exact, precise moment you depart your physical body. If you possess a base, animalistic consciousness in your final moments, you will inevitably go straight to the animal layer. You can't live a purely material life and then suddenly achieve some Buddha-like state of consciousness right at the finish line. It just doesn't work that way.
Instead, making a qualitative leap to a higher realm requires a really strict sequence of preparation. Step 1, you have to accumulate minor, quantitative changes in your daily life over a long period. Step 2, you use those tiny changes to actively break free from your current level's gravity. And Step 3, you absolutely must accumulate treasures in a higher realm. The text makes a really wise point here. It notes that a human's consciousness always develops toward wherever their treasure lies. If you haven't built a connection to a higher plane during your lifetime, your heart simply won't be drawn there when it's time to leave.
But here's the thing. Reincarnation isn't just a completely clean slate. Have you ever wondered about a totally unexplainable physical mark or some quirky habit you have? Just as DNA carries our genetic information, unexplainable physical marks might actually be imprints from past life injuries. Even your daily behaviors can reveal whether your previous state was animal, human, or celestial. And the ultimate goal in all of this, the total, complete elimination of all these human imprints, is required if you actually want to ascend to a heavenly realm.
You can actually observe this in real time through what the framework calls the Sherlock Holmes approach. Just like Holmes meticulously reads a crime scene to deduce where a criminal came from, a sharp observer can deduce exactly what realm a person previously inhabited. You just have to look closely at the clues, their everyday behaviors, and the specific imprints they're displaying today. Honestly, it's a completely wild way to look at the people around you.
All right, part 4, the necessity of forgetting and preventing ultimate cosmic chaos. Okay, so if we've all had past lives, and we're walking around carrying all these behavioral imprints, why don't we explicitly remember who we were? The text answers this by bringing in the Chinese mythological concept of Mengpo soup. It's an ecstasy soup given to souls right before rebirth. But here's the twist. It frames this memory wipe not as a punishment, but as a necessary mechanism of ultimate compassion. It's basically a cosmic law designed specifically to maintain a dynamic balance and keep the universe functioning smoothly.
Just consider this intense thought experiment for a second. Imagine the absolute, unimaginable chaos if we didn't forget. I mean, society would completely collapse. Imagine discovering your beloved pet was actually your child from a past life, or that your current spouse used to be your grandmother, or even worse, that your child was actually a sworn mortal enemy from a previous existence. Our minds literally couldn't handle it. There would be total mental and societal collapse across the board.
So, to prevent this catastrophic chaos, the universe actively keeps these profound truths encoded. The vast majority of people live without this knowledge, and that's exactly what keeps the cosmic balance intact. The text reinforces this idea by quoting Jesus Christ, explaining that this is exactly why cosmic secrets are so often veiled in parables. It's to protect the masses from truths they just aren't prepared to handle, while only revealing the mysteries to those who are actively seeking to ascend.
So as we wrap up this explainer on 8 Secrets on Life in Samsara, it leaves us with an incredibly profound lens through which to view our day-to-day lives. If the mysteries of the universe truly are endless, and we are constantly transitioning through these different realms, what specific imprints are you leaving behind right now? Take a hard look at your habits, your consciousness, your treasures. Based on those clues, what realm are you actually preparing yourself for next? Think about that today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the mysteries around you.